Hello class, today we're going to do Intro to Atoms e-learning for February 1st and 2nd, okay? And before we get started, we have to watch this video, and then we're going to answer these questions that are right here on this second slide. So I'm going to go ahead and press play so that we can watch this video.
Hey Sam, how's the drawing coming?
I really like drawing fruit, but these kiwi seeds are tough. They're the tiniest things I've ever seen.
They are teeny tiny, but I know something much tinier.
Tinier than that?
Sure, atoms.
Mia, you can't even see atoms. That doesn't count.
We can see atoms, but only if we use a super strong microscope.
Are there atoms in those tiny kiwi seeds?
Definitely. Atoms are the tiny particles that make up all matter, and those seeds are matter. Believe it or not, atoms are so tiny that millions and billions of them make up that kiwi seed.
That's crazy. I can't imagine something that small. What are atoms supposed to look like?
Focus on this. Atoms are like itty bitty balls. At the center of every atom is a nucleus. The nucleus is made up of particles called protons and neutrons. Protons have a positive electrical charge, neutrons have none. They're neutral.
Got it. E for proton equals positive. N for neutron equals neutral. So all of that fits inside a tiny atom?
Oh, there's more. Electrons are the tiniest part of all, and they move in circles around the nucleus, sort of like how the planets orbit the sun. Electrons have a negative electrical charge.
So how many protons and electrons are there in an atom?
The number of protons in an atom is equal to its number of electrons. That number determines what element the atom makes. The element hydrogen has one proton and one electron. It's number 1 on the periodic table. Oxygen has 8 protons and 8 electrons, so it's number 8. Get it? When two atoms combine, they make a molecule. Sometimes the atoms that combine are all the same kind of atom. When that happens, an element is created.
What if the atoms are different?
If the atoms that combine are different, then they're still molecules, but they're called compounds. Like water. 2 hydrogen atoms plus 1 oxygen atom equals a molecule of water, H2O.
Wow, atoms really are everything.
It's true. Atoms are amazing.
Seriously, all matter is made up of these tiny particles called atoms. We can't see them unless we use a super strong microscope. There's the nucleus at the center made up of protons and neutrons. Then there are the electrons that circle around the outside of the nucleus. When 2 or more atoms combine, it's called a molecule. If the atoms that combine are all the same, it's an element. If the atoms are different, it's a compound.
So, Sam, still think atoms don't count?
They count all right. Atoms are a work of art.
Okay, so after watching this, you're going to answer the questions that are here. What is an atom? What is the center of an atom called? What 2 subatomic particles make up the center of an atom? Describe the charges for protons, neutrons, and electrons. We're going to read this, and then you're going to tell me what an atom is, what a proton is, what a neutron is, and what an electron is. Everything that you can see and even things you can't see are matter. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. Matter in any form, solid, liquid, or gas, is composed of, at the most basic level, atoms. Atoms are like building blocks of all matter. Atoms contain 3 basic subatomic particles: protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons are positively charged and found in the nucleus. Electrons are negatively charged and found around the outside of the nucleus. Neutrons are neutral, which means they have no charge and are found with protons in the nucleus. A strong force holds the atom's protons and neutrons together to form the positively charged nucleus in the center of the atom. Protons and neutrons have about the same mass. A unit scientists call one Dalton, or one atomic mass unit, AMU. Electrons are even smaller than protons and neutrons. This means that almost all of the atom's mass is contained in its nucleus. Surrounding the nucleus is the electron cloud. Electrons orbit the nucleus because of the negative charge of the electrons is attracted to the positive protons in the nucleus. There are certain regions around the nucleus where electrons are more likely to spend time. We call these locations electron shells or orbits. Now you're going to tell me, what is the atomic number based on what we're reading here? A Danish scientist named Niels Bohr was the first to develop a system of describing an atom. We call it the Bohr model. It shows the nucleus surrounded by circles that have a variety of electrons inside them. Electrons in the shell furthest from the nucleus are called valence electrons, and they determine how stable or reactive an atom is. There are many different types of atoms, 118 to be exact. The identity of an atom is determined by its atomic number, which is the number of protons in its nucleus. Whenever atoms with the same atomic number are grouped together, we call it an element. There are 118 elements. The 118 elements are organized into the periodic table of elements. It all comes down to atoms. Now, based on what we've read, you're going to determine what the answers are here. Atomic number is the number of blank in an atom. A, protons, B, neutrons, C, electrons, D, nuclei. Number 2, what are the two subatomic particles found inside the nucleus? A, protons and electrons. B, electrons and neutrons. C, protons and neutrons. D, electrons and ions. 3, which two subatomic particles have approximately the same mass? Protons and electrons. B, electrons and neutrons. C, protons and neutrons. D, electrons and nuclei. Explore Part 1. Atoms are the building blocks of all matter. Within atoms, there are subatomic particles that you will learn about today. The numbers of protons in an atom is the atomic number that determines the element's identity. The periodic table organizes all the elements by their atomic number. Protons have a positive charge and are found in the center of the atom, which is also called the nucleus. Neutrons are neutral, which means they have no charge. They are also found in the nucleus. Electrons have a negative charge and are found orbiting the nucleus with the electron cloud. Explore it, Part 2. Look around your bedroom or your house that you're in right now. Think of an ordinary object that could represent a model of an atom. What would represent the nucleus, the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons? You're going to put your answers right here. On the next page, you're going to build that atom with 3 protons in the middle, 4 neutrons in the middle, and then 3 electrons in the outer circle. And this is how you're going to take and do it. You'll drag and click them and put them in their appropriate spots. Congratulations, you've just built a lithium atom. Proton and neutrons determine the mass of the atom. This number is called an atomic mass. It also represents the periodic table. To determine the mass of your atom, lithium, add the number of protons and neutrons. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. The ring closest to the nucleus can only hold 2 electrons. The next ring can only hold 8. And the third ring from the nucleus can only hold 8. If necessary, go back to part 3 and fix your model now. Now you're going to build another model with 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons in the right spots. Now you're going to tell me what your atom is, what's the name, what your atom's mass is, and the electrons, how the electrons are arranged in 2 different energy levels. There are blank in the first energy level and blank in the second energy level. So I want you to Google the periodic table of elements, and I want you to tell me the 2 elements that are missing right here and what the mass is and what their energy levels look like. Right here, you're going to take and you're going to look at your protons, your neutrons, and electrons, and you're going to determine where they are, okay? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it in the nucleus, outside the nucleus? You're going to move all the characteristics over here and drag and drop them. For instance, we know that protons are negative. So we would take and put it there. Okay? Right here, you're going to take and you're going to decide which one of these are it. Is this going to be electron, neutron, proton, or electron cloud? And so on and so forth all the way across. You're going to drag and click it to the appropriate spot. So if you said that these green zeros, these green ones are neutrons, for example, you are correct. Now you're going to read these questions right here. Assess at part 1, which is following is a true statement. A, the nucleus is found at the center of atoms and contains protons and electrons. B, the nucleus is found at the center of the atom and it contains protons and neutrons. C, electrons have neutral charge. D, neutrons have a negative charge. 2, what is the role of the electrons within an atom? Electrons are in the nucleus and have a negative charge. B, electrons are in the nucleus and have a positive charge. C, electrons are outside the nucleus and have a negative charge. Or D, electrons are outside of the nucleus and have a positive charge. 3, what of the following determines an atom's identity? A, protons. B, neutrons. C, electrons. D, nucleus. Now you're going to look at your word bank. You have atom, atomic number, electrons, neutrons, and protons. The periodic table is the organization system for all the different elements. The smallest part of the element that still has properties of the element, it is a blank. It is made up of 3 subatomic particles. There are negatively charged blank that can be found in a cloud around the atom. Inside the atom is the nucleus. It contains positively charged blank as well as blank, which have no charge. When we look at different elements, we can identify them by the number of protons or by the blank of the element. You'll fill in those answers right here.